What do you do when it looks like everything you've been building for the last few years is about to collapse overnight?
Several businesses are shutting their doors.
Most people panic, some actually disappear, but fuck, I went to work. I wasn't exactly trying to be loud about it, I just wanted to get it right.
He's catching up to me in the hard work.
The shaved head, the perfect like angular beard.
I'm Joel. I'm a barista.
They have a noose around their neck of having to pay the bills.
That if Dylan can make that guy trade.
He wants to make the change. He wants to figure out another skill. This isn't a story about charts or trading. This is about when pressure pushes you beyond what you thought you were capable of. This could change someone's life.
Hello, I'm Joel. I'm a barista.
Joel is the guy at the canteen, he's the barista. He's such a magic guy. Like if you meet him and you understand his story and you understand where he comes from absolute nothing. And he's grinding, literally he's grinding coffee beans, but he's grinding. He just wants to, you know, like there's people that are never happy with where they are, they just want to be better. And you know, he has this job because he needs to pay the bills. But you can see that he's got this like fire that if he could just pay the bills, he could make a magic happen. And I think he's probably representative of a lot of people in the world and a lot of people in this country where they have a noose around their neck of having to pay the bills. And if they just didn't have that noose and they had freedom, financial freedom, then they could actually thrive. Now, you know, we love people like that at Banter because our mission is to change people's lives by giving them financial freedom, by making them profitable, right? And I think he's the epitome of that. He's got this fire in his heart. He's the most amazing human being. He makes a killer match, I'll tell you that much.
I know Dylan from the canteen. He's one of our regular customers. He comes for breakfast, coffees, and chats. And he's also one of the people who got me interested in crypto banter and the Bitcoin and everything. And sometimes he even comes with merch and shows me the charts. He's the lord of the entry, that's what he says. He says he's the lord of the entry, so yeah.
Oh yeah, so whenever I was in Cape Town, Joel was there, yeah. Cool dude. What is interesting about this is that if Dylan can make that guy trade or make that guy become profitable, he can make anyone become profitable, you know? So if he can get through to that guy and actually teach him, I think it would be pretty awesome.
Joel has been here for a while and he's watched all the hosts, and you know, he watched Sheldon become Sheldon, he watched Carl become Carl, he watched Dylan become Dylan.
I'm Dylan. I'm just a dude. Yeah, I mean, the guys know me as the Lord of Entry. I'm a banter show host. I'm a shitcoin trader. High risk trader, I would say, lots of leverage, things like that. But essentially just a passionate trader who loves sharing my knowledge with the community and who gets a lot of joy in seeing other people's success.
You see this guy who's developed an identity, he's proud of his identity, the skinhead with a cap and the beard.
You know what is interesting about him is that he's like, you know, this Chad of again, like, workout and great looking guy with great clothes and caps and well-groomed beard and whatever, but he's also like a proper family guy.
He's the best host converter at Banter. If we ever need someone to convert, Dylan's the absolute best. He's developing his brand. He's got the beard oils and stuff like that. It's amazing brand. He's got his brand called Chart Hackers. He built an amazing school.
Welcome to the Trading Accelerator. You are here because you want to learn how to amplify your gains super quick. Well, this course is designed for you.
It warms my heart because I knew it was going to happen from the very first day. But for him, it was a journey.
My career actually went in a different direction. I ended up getting involved in property development. And it wasn't the glitz and glam of the suits and the ties and the high-rise buildings, but it almost teaches you the street fighter side of business. Then I got involved in a tech startup business. I was involved in an events business and things like that. Well, COVID basically shut down anything events related, anything hotels related, anything travel related, the restaurants. The guys just got absolutely decimated, and one or two of the things that I had going on was a casualty of that, and obviously took a hiding. You know, you rely on your flow, your business flow, and you know, your clients and whatever, and then they just shut everything down like that, and then you think, fuck me, what am I going to do now? You know, what is my next step? Like, is the world going to end? You had a choice. It was like, I can fuck around, I can play games, I can fucking remember TikTok, that was a thing. I can go on TikTok, I can have fun and do all these things, or I can use this opportunity to learn properly new skills. And that's when I really just fucking went balls to the wall, like gave it all. I treated it like, literally like a university degree. I've obviously been to university, I understand the work involved, I know what it takes to work, to write exams, to do these things, and I just got as much fucking content as I could, and I spent as many hours as possible in front of the charts, getting fucked up, learning stuff, making mistakes, figuring out what works, figuring out what doesn't. I locked myself in my office, like wrote notes, rewatched content, like just built this animal in my head as to what needs to happen for me as a trader.
I've known him for many, many, many years. His wife and my wife are actually very good friends. And he was trading stocks. The guy was trading stocks, and he was just this guy that was always trading. And eventually one day I said to him, listen, Dylan, you know, we sit down and we trade crypto all day. Why don't you come sit in the same office as us?
I was actually saying to my wife, like, I want to be with like-minded people. I need this as a trader. I want to sit with traders. And, you know, I was fishing around looking for, you know, my network, speaking to people, and I had a few options as to where I could go and trade on my own or whatever, or trade with people. And, you know, we got to Cape Town and I thought, fuck it, you know, Run's got this crypto banter thing, there's trading going on, I'm gonna go and sit there.
Dylan was like this guy who was a little bit introverted, and he was just sitting and trading in the same office as us. He was always a good trader. He always used to come up with these like amazing trades. And then him and Sheldon became like really good friends, and you know, Dylan started to work with Sheldon. He started to help Sheldon with the charts. He started to help Sheldon with Telegram groups, Discord groups and stuff like that. And those guys built an amazing, amazing, amazing bond.
And as it turned out, we had a very similar way of seeing the charts, okay? Because we were in a super bullish environment, and we were like getting fucking pumped on these breakout trades. And I mean, it was unreal. Okay? I mean, that 2021 run was fucking unreal. The next thing, I was a guest on his show, doing little appearances. And I one day sent a clip to Uncle. I sent him a clip saying, look, this is me on Sheldon's show. Where can I be better? And I mean, I'm not looking for anything. I was a very reluctant show host. I was fucking terrified. Like, I'm a very introverted person. I hate big crowds, and I hate the stage, you know, and those types of things. It was very hard for me to come out of my shell. And I just knew that if I was presenting on a show, I wanted to be better. And who else can tell you if you shit or not than Run?
We begged him, please, do a stream, do a stream, do a stream. And I'll never forget how nervous he was. I mean, he's not an extroverted person. And here we are taking this guy, and almost like, I would actually like almost force him to put a camera in front of him.
I was like, oh my fuck. I was obviously not going to say no, but I was fucking shitting myself, okay? The feeling, now it's not the same for everyone. You get some guys that love the stage. I pitched up on the day to do the show. Everything was set up in the studio here next door. And green screen, and you set it up with your screen and whatever, and your heart's like pumping, okay? And I had Lester in the background. He was still new here. And he goes, okay, you're going live in 5. Okay, in 5 minutes. Then your fucking heart rate starts going like this. And you're like, oh my fuck. And you got this whole plan of what you're gonna say to everybody. You got this whole like intro, you know, welcome to the 𝗵𝗿 competition. Today we're talking about this, and today we're gonna do that. Okay, Josh goes, okay, we live in 5, 4, 3, 2. As he goes like that, I felt like I was jumping out of a plane with no fucking parachute, okay? This thing went live in front of me.
So guys, welcome to my first show. I'm so excited to be here.
And I'm actually too terrified to even watch that fucking first clip. I don't even know what I said, but all I know is I couldn't talk.
I said, Dylan, you're leaving the sniper club and you're going on your own because you're so good. And then there was a second time and a third time and a fourth time. And with Dylan, what I learned is that don't push him out of his comfort zone too quickly because it makes him wobble. Just let him in time, he'll develop it, he'll develop himself, he'll develop on his own, and eventually he will get himself out of his comfort zone.
And now, instead of sharing my trading shit in WhatsApp groups with my friends, I can now share it to everyone, you know, and tell them my journey. I've felt their pain. I've lost money. I understand this stuff. Like, let me help these people. And I was like, this is fucking great. Like, let me sort this out. We're gonna trade shit coins together. We're gonna win together. We're gonna lose together, and I'm gonna help these people. And for me, that was the ticket. Like, that was it for me.
And I think if you look at him now, he's never looked back.
Dylan is a hustler, you know, so I see Dylan very familiar to what I do. He's building himself up and he has a point to prove, and he has a time disadvantage compared to all the other hosts, and so he has to work harder than everybody else. He's catching up to me in the hard work, but he's working very, very hard. Dylan is working very hard. He's doing his community, doing his shows, doing weekend shows, doing his school. Yeah, definitely a hustler.
When I first met Dylan, I really thought he was quite scary. He's a little bit like intimidating, you know? The shaved head, the perfect like angular beard. He always wore only black and leather, and yeah, quite like scary eyebrows. But I soon came to know that Dylan is actually a big softie, and that he's probably the nicest biker looking dude you'll ever meet. If there's one guy I trust with my trading portfolio, it would be Dylan.
𝗘𝘅𝗀𝗃𝗃, I see you've been wearing my shirt today, bro. Huh? Are you ready for this? Good, bro. I like the support here, huh? The disgusting top. But it's not going to be disgusting today, bro. It's going to be good. I'm gonna show you some things. Trading isn't necessarily a complicated thing to do, and a lot of people see the charts and they get a little bit terrified and they don't know what's going on, but they're curious and they hear people are making money and they don't know how to do it. So we've chosen 𝗘𝘆𝗃𝗃 from our canteen over here. He's got a bit of crypto, he knows a little bit about it, obviously being around in the offices and just being aware of what's going on here. He's intrigued.
The thing I'm most interested in crypto is the money, because I've seen the numbers and it's super, super huge, and I want to get involved in it because I want to make a change.
I think he's obviously interested to learn a lot about trading. He wants to do it. He's asked me before, and I think now let's give him an opportunity. And I'm going to show him a few basic things. I'm going to load his account with some dollars, and we're going to tee him up and get him going. He wants to make the change. He wants to figure out another skill. He wants to make more money. I like this, group. Let's go. Step into my office. The average person is maybe terrified of change. They're terrified of risk. And when I say risk, it means risking my time to learn a new skill that I might not be good at or that I might give up on. And you know, that's the mindset that needs to change, because if you want to learn to play guitar, you got to commit the hours. You can't just go play it for 1 or 2 hours a week and then expect yourself to be good. Eventually you're going to give up. So it's the same with trading, and it's the same with any new skill. You've got to commit. We really started flying last night late. So it's actually a good time. It's a really good time for 𝗘𝘆𝗃 to see what is possible here with trading. It's all that hard work we do, and all that work from, you know, the community watching my show, yes, and staying in touch, doing the accelerator course, being in chart hackers, my group, all that work pays off in one night. Like
wow.
This. Yeah. Anybody can change their path. Anybody can change their direction. It's just a matter of taking the steps. And there's, you know, there's a big difference between the people that think about cool shit and never actually act on it because they're always too busy or they're doing something. And then you get the guys that say, fuck it, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna do it. The principle is buying something at a price with the assumption that it's going to go up.
Yes, sir.
And you're going to sell it to make money. You're going to make a profit on it. Okay,
Yes.
that's your assumption.
Yes.
So how do you do that with an edge? Because anybody here can just go and buy. Okay, but how do you know when? And how do you know you're not going to lose money? Or how do you protect your risk to lose as little as possible if you are wrong?
Yeah.
These are people buying up. Whenever the price moves down, you see the red?
Yes.
The price moves down, what happens? Let's pretend this is today and where we are.
Yes.
And something very simple. We identify support. That must be support for you. Okay? Now with this trading plan in mind, knowing that we've got support, let's play this and see, would I have been right at this point in time if it dropped onto support? Look at that there, bang, into the box.
There.
Okay, let's see. You're gonna make the $12.
What?
There you go, okay? Back into the box, what happens? Okay, bounce again. You see that, $12, $12. Look at
Yeah,
that.
they.
Okay. Gee, he's exciting. He's ready to buy, you see. So if you get good enough on the course, you're going to build these areas where you get this rocket ship. And you'll know how to make it yourself.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
I tell you, it's addictive, this stuff. And what I've done here for everybody is what I wish I stumbled upon when I started trading. It's a community of people that understand my pain when I'm losing,
Yes.
and understand my feelings when I'm winning.
Yeah.
That's I've built for you guys, okay? So it's 𝗏𝗏𝗃's community and the trading course explaining to people, to avoid FOMO. You only buy in the big areas. You buy in these big zones that I make, that I
Yeah.
teach. Everything else in between, you're wasting your time, for me, in my opinion. So this is the homepage of the school. This is where you're going to find all the cool stuff. I also do these workshops where you get to sit live with me.
Oh.
And whoever's doing the course for that particular week or that month gets to join me on a workshop, and then I do the practical examples in front of everyone. So you've watched the videos, you've seen me do it, then in the workshop we do it again. And I help and I take questions and we help the guys. And you're just going to start lesson. It's like having the Lord in your pocket.
Yes, yes. Lord of the entry.
Got the basics, okay? I've shown you some very simple stuff that you can start with, but what I need you to do is now get TradingView on your laptop, and you want to start doing the basic stuff, drawing that little box that I drew.
Yes.
Okay, how to get support and resistance. That's where you're going to start. Then your next step is do the course, okay? Do the course, watch my show, start getting into it. Get into a rhythm of watching the show, hearing all this crypto talk, hearing all the trading talk. Get into that zone, and it's going to start clicking for you. Then by the time you midway or halfway or finish the course, you're gonna be doing this on your own.
Yes.
Okay? You're going to be taking trades by yourself. You're going to be marking out things, and it's only upwards from there. Okay. Once you come into 𝗏𝗏𝗃's, you'll see this community is going to. Can change your life, bro. I'm telling you, it can change your life.
Yes.
It changed my life. Absolutely changed my life.
Yes, sir.
For me, it's very important, like whenever I've wanted to make a change in my life, take this step and commit. Don't half-heartedly do something, commit, and then get it done. Give yourself a runway, give yourself time to do it, and then look back in 6 months or whatever and say, have I given it everything that I could have reasonably? If I have, and it's not working for me, cool. But like if I've done it half-heartedly, then, I've got myself to blame, basically.
I've done many schools. I did Sheldon School, Carl School, my own school, David. I've done every school that Banter has had to offer. And if you go and do Dylan's school and you understand how he teaches from the heart and how he cares about each and every student in the school. He even recruited the guy from the canteen. Like, I watched this. He like one guy at school, and he bought him a laptop to make sure that the guy could get into school. This is a guy who's not only a brilliant trader in his style of trading, but he actually cares about each and every person that watches his show, each and every person that does his school. Like, he cares about them. And I think that's what makes Dylan very different. Dylan's not about mass, he's not about millions and millions of people. But the people that do work with Dylan, the people that do Dylan's course, man, like it's a blessing, it's an honor. You become like one of his like, I don't know, kids. Like, I don't know, you become like someone that he really cares about. And I think that's what makes Dylan Dylan. If he carries on like this, I think he's going to be one of the biggest hosts of Banter, if not the biggest.